Full disclosure, Carl Davis is a friend of mine. I don't know him well, but I know him well enough and trust him. He's a businessman, and there's an issue near and dear to his heart that he wants to communicate with the nation. He took the time and the effort, the resources, to put together a documentary on the subject, and that is suicide, which is in so many ways an epidemic in this country. And Carl Davis, I want to welcome you to the program. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, Mark. Thank you for having me on tonight. I really appreciate the time. This is such an important issue that needs exposure.
Let's start at the beginning. What is it that drew your attention to focus on this particular issue?
When I was 16, I had an older brother who was 22 who took his life. He was Army, and it took our family by surprise completely, and it shattered us, but we somehow managed to pull together and work our way through it, which was an enormous effort. I mean, it took me a psychoanalysis for 4 years, 5 days a week, and my parents went through counseling, and my oldest brother, Arlyn, also had psychological help, because this is something that is so big that you can't handle it yourself as much as you think you might. So that was the genesis for not just for the film, but my whole way of life, of paying it forward by taking my darkest days and doing something with him to help others.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're a good soul. I know I've met you. You're a very kind and decent man, and you have your own family as well, and you put this documentary together. So tell the audience how you decided to undertake this project and how you began and executed this project.
He said.
Well, it took a long time to find the right pieces to come together. And I happened to have been at a holiday event, and across the table from me was a filmmaker who said, "Hey, I'm Frank Panico with X's in the Sky Films, and I make documentaries if you ever have an idea." And the wheels were turning in my head because this is something that I've longed to do. It was a goal my whole life. And I said, "I have an idea. I will call you tomorrow." And we sat there and we spoke for probably the better part of a week, and then signed a contract because he was all for making this film. He realized he's a man of God, and he realized that life is worth saving, and any way any one of us can do something to do that is so critically important. So we began the process of making the film. He's an extraordinary filmmaker. And my wife and I edited it along the way, as did he. And, we had suggestions like, fix this out. We don't like this. Add this in and maybe move this around. And he was extraordinary. I mean, he made a great film. And by the time 4 or 5 months passed, the film was ready. The trailer was done. And it was the kind of trailer that we looked at and said, "Oh, my God, I want to watch this film. This is going to be tough, but I have to watch it." And I would continue to watch the film over and over again once it was finished. And it was hard. I would shed my tears because I had to relive all this stuff. In fact, when the filmmaker first filmed me for the first few hours, I said, "I'm going to forewarn you, I'm going to be emotional. This is hard for me, but it's something that I really feel I have to do." And he said, "Good." He said, "Let your feelings through." He said, "Because that shows how authentic you are and how important that subject matter is. And it's not going to help anybody if it's intellectualized and it's just kind of a dull film. You need to be yourself." And I was. And it was hard. I lost it a few times during the filming. People ask, was it cathartic? And yes, in a way it was cathartic. It was painful, but it was cathartic. But I know the long view of this mission is to save lives. And I knew that I had to do this no matter what I had to go through and how much of it I had to relive, because it was painful. It's not something you want to do, but this was important to get the long goal out there, and that's saving lives.
And the documentary is called See Through the Darkness, and we're going to post it up there, seethroughthedarkness.org, seethroughthedarkness.org, and it's got a trailer and a link to view the full film for a donation of $5, and that donation of $5 is going to go to help people, right?
Correct. We want to garner enough funding that we can actually pay it forward. We want to be able to help suicide prevention organizations, and there are a couple in the film that are mentioned that I'm very close with. These guys save lives, military and law enforcement, and that's that's the primary focus of the film, is saving lives of law enforcement, first responders, and military, because I see such a preponderance of ungodly things that they can't unsee, and they sometimes wonder when they take off the uniform, what's my purpose? Well, I've been doing this for 30 years. What do I do now? You know, and there's no support, and there are all these different issues that cause a rebound effect, and these guys feel worthless, and it's terrible.
You know, people don't necessarily think about the fact that when something horrendous happens, a plane crash or a car blows up or something like that, somebody or some number of people have to go there and not just clean up the site, figure out who these people are, tell the families. It's a human tragedy all around, and it's a horrible, horrible thing, or watching your buddy get shot in the head and things of that sort. And your film is absolutely unbelievable. It's not prurient. It is, in some ways, very upsetting. In other ways, it's awakening. It really makes people think about suicide prevention. And as you put this film together, was there anything in particular that really struck you, either in the aggregate or anything in particular?
There were several things that actually I learned about that I really hadn't known. I mean, I had my own experience. I'm into film. My wife is into film. She's lived with me and lived this, 50-some years together. And she sees me go through these birth dates and death dates, and how I used to just shove it aside and not feel it because I didn't want to feel it. I, figured, okay, I felt nothing. I'm the emotional body, and the emotional body actually is in control. And if you don't feel it, it's going to manifest somehow. Stomach ache, neck ache, you just got to feel rotten. So I learned over the years that I really needed to vent my feelings and relive it every time this were to happen. So when I hear of someone else's suicide or a suicide attempt, it breaks my heart. Because it's not just because it resonates with me, but there's such a devastating loss. This is a very unusual kind of death. It's not something that people expect, and it just comes out of the blue. And for instance, with my brother, we had no signs, there was no indication, there was nothing. All these years later, because it was 1965, we still live with that question mark. And, the first reaction was horror and pain, and then there's guilt, wondering, why didn't we see something? Is there something we should have seen, we would have and could have interceded? But there was nothing. So it leaves that question mark open-ended. And, I watch these first responders who are in the military or they're in law enforcement or they're first responders, period, answering phones. And what they go through is just riveting. I mean, you can't imagine, the firefighters see burned bodies of babies. I mean, it's horrendous. And in Palm Beach, at one of the fire stations, they've got a room, it's a media room. And I was in there because I went through several citizens economies. And one of the visits that we had took us into this dark room. And the guy said, we just go in here to decompress, to get away from life, to get away from all the stuff that we've seen. So what I've learned is the degree of trauma and horror that they see, that they can't unsee.
As you talk about this, I think about 9/11. I think about October 7th, when all those people and families who survived went through, and the hostages and so forth. I can think about all that. And this film, which is so compelling and so emotional, you and your wife and your producer-director did such a fantastic job. I just hope people will take a look at this. And they have it posted out, seethroughthedarkness.org, seethroughthedarkness.org. I hope you folks will really check it out. And Carl Davis is a good guy. Let me tell you, he's relentless, too. He wakes me up every now and then so I remember to do what he wants me to do, and that's a good thing. Always friendly to me whenever I see you. It would never have occurred to me till I saw this, how much you suffered and your family suffered as a result of your brother taking his life. It would never have occurred to me. I guess you go in and out of these moods, don't you, from time to time?
You do. And most times I'm fine, but then again, there are triggers out there, especially when I hear of someone else who has taken their life, whether it's military, law enforcement, first responder, or civilian. I mean, more than 1 million people a year worldwide take their life. 50,000 alone in America. And 20 times that are the attempts, which are fortunately unsuccessful. But these things shake me to the core when I hear them, because I lived it. And it's just, it wakes everything up. And it's just, it's very, very difficult. And, making a film was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But,
Carl, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on. I want you folks to please check it out. SeeThroughTheDarkness.org. SeeThroughTheDarkness.org. Even if this hasn't happened in your family or even people you know, it can happen. It can be very latent and sit in there. God bless you, my friend. I hope to see you soon.